Hey, what's up guys? Today we're talking about natural running form as opposed to any other type of running form out there. I'm gonna give you 4 do's and don'ts to really nailing this thing so it feels good, it feels comfortable, and sets you up for success in the long term. You know, I've yet to meet the kid in elementary school who, wants to sit inside at recess, or when they see their friends playing kickball or running around, they just kind of stick their hand in their pockets and they sit on the curb. You know, there's this natural inclination that we want to run through the school hallways. We have to run to catch that bus. We want to run and chase our kids, right? Like we naturally born to do some variation of running at some point or another. So sometimes a lot of us don't feel like runners, but I always like to add in there that like, hey, this is something we probably all did as kids. We had fun. So it's important to think about running as this natural movement that we're all meant to do, as opposed to this alien thing that is foreign to us that we have to quote unquote learn. And the other tips here, I'm going to talk about some tips to specifically improve our running, but I just want us to remember that it's actually something that's sort of built in genetically to us and that we're actually really good at it. You know, I've met a lot of runners who have tried to fix their running technique in a vacuum, and what I'm really saying is they're seeing some funky thing happening, say with their arm swing, and the person analyzing this says like, hey, stop doing that funky thing with your arm. But one of the reasons why they're doing that funky thing with their arm is because they sit like this all day, so that their thoracic spine is super stiff, their shoulders are internally rotated, and come to think of it, they don't have the strength, the core strength or the shoulder stabilization to do a push-up. It's like, well, what's really the problem here? Is it this weird thing I just happen to do in my run that I can just fix myself? Or is my lack of strength, is my super stiff, unmobile back, and my lifestyle sort of showing up in my running technique, right? So don't try to fix running in a vacuum is really what I'm trying to say. Kind of said it in a roundabout way, but I wanted to give you that example. And then it goes for everything from tight hips to my breathing. If I feel like I'm breathing erratically, I can't just stop doing that. Sometimes we use these negative words as cues. You're doing this, don't do that. A lot of times it doesn't address why our body has adapted to move that way. We need to dig and peel back the layers a little bit. And for us at the Run Experience, that's always digging into your strength training, your mobility and your range of motion, and those pesky hours we spend living as human beings the rest of our day throughout our lifestyle. Now, to really be successful with running, to really think about putting our running technique in the right order, we want to follow a little order of operations. So we like to focus on a top-down approach to running as opposed to a bottom-up. So do focus on this top-down approach that really starts with posture. Posture and position is king. If I don't have this in some way, right, I'm not going to be able to perform athletically in anything. It doesn't matter if whatever athlete I am or whatever it is I'm trying to do. And that doesn't mean I need to be stiff robot who lives here all the time, but I need to be here. And if you're like, Nate, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, I'm not sure. You're like, well, this is what I'm talking about right here. Sometimes we're unaware of how we sit and stand throughout the day. And if you're this person on your phone, right, my posture and position really isn't king. It's not something I'm prioritizing. And guess what's going to show up in your race photos? This guy. And you're going to be like, I run and look like that. And you're like, you do, right? So we need to focus on improving this throughout the day and improving this with our running. If I can think about a nice line from my ears, shoulders, hips, knees to ankles as I stand, this is really helpful. One of my favorite little posture drills is just to put my hands on my hips for a little bit of awareness, and I'm just going to shift these guys back and forth. And as I run, it's just this little shift in weight that's going to start to initiate this thing. So I almost think about someone has a lasso around my hips, and I'm just sort of slightly shifting these hips forward. Once I have this sort of posture and position set up, and by the way, we've got much more in-depth videos on all these specific things, so I'm just going to be breezing through so you get the big picture. You know, the next thing I actually want to focus on is going to be my shoulders and my arm swing. Can I get my arms back and forth in this roughly 90-degree angle here? Notice that for sprinting, this is going to open and close a little bit more. Maybe if I'm going down hills, my arms naturally are going to want to, flail out for balance a little bit. So there is a degree that my body's pretty smart and it knows what it wants to do. I'm going to let it happen. But I kind of generally want to see something like this for those arms, We talk about our hips, pushing our hips forward a little bit. This keeps our glutes engaged, our hips and pelvis in a nice stable position. Otherwise, what happens if I arch, things start to collapse and get a little bit ugly. Once I have that, now I can start to think about pulling mechanics. Not only have I just pushed through with my hips, but now I can start to think about getting and recycling this stride a little bit more. Another word for recycling is cadence, picking that heel up so I can put it back down on the ground. This solves a few problems. Not only does it shorten my stride, reverses vertical bounce, but it gets more engagement here, so I'm even stronger and more stable. It has me lighter on my feet, and it just happens to be a more efficient way to go, especially for those long distance runnings. And guess what? If I've done all those things, my foot strike is pretty naturally landing underneath me. I don't have to focus on it too much. So this top-down approach, posture is king, hip position rocking back and forth, thinking about those arms, roughly this 90-degree angle. My arm swing goes out the back, it doesn't go the forward. When I initiate, I think about hips forward. When my hips are in a good position, I'm stable. This then allows me to focus on the pulling mechanics, which is recycling this movement, picking those heels up and over this way. And if I've started here and worked all the way down, guess what? My feet are now landing light and relaxed right underneath me, and everything is going in the direction as it should. Look, last one, don't be overly obsessed with your foot strike. I know that's one of the more obvious things we get to see, but the way I've heard it put best is that your foot is at the long end of this kinetic whip, and the whipping action starts here up with the hips and postures we just talked about in the last second. The way I put my foot on the ground is a reflection of all these things further up the chain going in the right direction. For me to arbitrarily change where my foot hits the ground without focusing on the things that cause it is going to lead and contribute to trading one injury for another, or just a lot more frustration. And remember, our body doesn't like massive change in short amount of time. It likes steady, consistent change that can adapt to, especially when we're talking about the hardwiring of your day-to-day movement with running, walking, and standing and everything else. And when I start to change the way my foot hits the ground, you better believe that there's going to be certain tendons and ligaments that are going to have to adjust for that, and that takes time. Your calves, your hamstrings, your quads are going to have to adjust to that. You might be able to hold it better, that better running form, for short periods of time, but then you're going to lose it again. So you want to be fair to yourself in terms of giving yourself opportunity to change this running without also putting too many big demands on it for your training. For example, when I was younger, I made the mistake of trying to change my run technique 8 weeks into an ultra marathon program, and that just was disaster. It wouldn't work when I was doing my longest runs and working my technique at the same time. Don't be like me, that didn't work. But I hope you enjoyed that. Work on those things, it'll make you better. Guys, I got one more thing for you in this natural running form little video. If you like this video, go ahead and let us know. Hit that like button down below. Do you have any comments or questions on some of the things we were talking about, the technique, or how to kind of blend this in with your lifestyle? Just ask away down in the comments. If you have any requests for future videos you'd like to see, you can hit us up there too. If you want more videos on technique, as well as on strength training, on injury prevention, on how to prepare for your marathon or your ultra, how to improve your breathing, you better believe we got it on our channel at The Run Experience. So definitely hit that subscribe button. And finally, because we love you so much, we got a free gift for you. All you need to do to get it is to click this link in this video, or hit the description down on the bottom of the video if you happen to be on a mobile device. We have a free 2 weeks of training that we want to give you. We have our quick start training on strength, on running, on mobility, some of our favorite stuff. You'll love it. All you need to do is go there, enter your name and your email, be able to personally send you that training, and you will be kicking butt in no time. Once again, thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.